What's going on, guys? It's Hadex Gaming here, and I'm going to be bringing you my personal opinion on Necesse's trinket tier list. So these are only my opinions of these trinkets. These aren't going to be, facts. They're what I think and how they adapt to my playstyle. So these are going to be different for everyone, of course. So let me know if you agree, disagree, or where you would change things up. Obviously, there's going to be a few controversial things said here because not everyone's going to agree with what I say, but let's jump straight in. So on the left-hand side, you can see the wiki page that's got all the information available. So I'm going to start off by going through what I like to call the utility trinkets or the ability trinkets. These are the ones that provide extra use. They go on the ability slot. So like the force of wind, the blink scepter, things like that. The ones that you press spacebar and then it uses the ability. So to start off, the Aged Champion Shield. 8 armor. Equip and hold. Equip and hold and use it to block incoming attacks. Consumes stamina when used. Now, this is new as a version, I believe it was 0.21.28, the new update. So, I'm still not a huge fan on shields in this game. I find dashing is far more viable. So, wi- a- as it is the best shield in the game, I might pop it in B tier for now. I might move it around depending on where other things are sitting later on. But that's where I think it is for now. It is the best shield in the game, but you only get a couple, like 1 or 2 seconds of holding that shield down before you run out of stamina. So if there's a multi-target hit or if something's more than one thing is coming at you, you'll run out of stamina faster than you'll get it back for the second turn. So moving on to the Blink Scepter. This to me is I'm gonna say A tier. I don't find it as useful as the Force of Wind. Like, yes, there's definitely some moments, but the Force of Wind for me, I feel like I've got more control over. I can predict where the dashes are going, whereas the teleports take a little bit extra to get used to. Not to mention that's kind of clunky when you're moving it around. So the next is the Cactus Shield, this one here. This gives you +4 armor, returns damage to the attacker, and then equip and hold to use block incoming attacks. Now, this one is really good. I'm going to pop this one here with this one, only because it is a mid-tier shield, but it does give you that extra thorns damage, so that return damage to attacker. So if you are good with the shield, it is a good shield to use. But there's not much more I can say on that one. Next is the Force of Wind. This is definitely by far going into my S tier trinkets. You get it super early on in the game. It'll carry you through most of the game, and then without it, most bosses are near impossible. Um, so this one, S tier, straight away. No questions asked. The Guardian Shell, I'm going to pop in B tier as well. The shield the Guardian Shell gives you. Sorry. The Force of Wind, I forgot to mention it. Equipped to push yourself forward, so it's like a dash ability. And then the Guardian Shell, equip and use to get a powerful shield for a short time. The shield it gives you lasts long enough that it is useful in most fights. But once again, it's not dashing or teleporting out of the way, so you do have to be a little bit more careful when using it and a bit more skilled. Next, the Hardened Shield, +4 armor, equip and hold to use block incoming attacks, consume stamina. So that's this one here, the Hardened Shield. I'm probably gonna drop that in D tier. Um, Only because it isn't the greatest. +4 armor is okay, but you're really only gonna equip it if it's the only thing you've got. It may come in useful for that first boss fight, but that's it. That's all it's doing. The Shell of Retribution has +4 armor and has a chance to return damage, and being hit poisons the attacker for 40 damage over 5 seconds. Equip and hold to use to block incoming attacks and consume stamina when used. So that is this one here. It's pretty much the combination of a couple of items. But I'm going to pop that into A tier only because it is a late game shield, so you would expect it to be better. But the damage over time and returning damage is a lot of damage that will help you defeat the boss if you are playing it safe. So I'm going to pop that in A tier. The tungsten shield, it's just another shield, so I'm not awfully fussed about that one. I'm just going to pop that in D tier, and same with the wooden shield. can go on D tier as well. The wooden shields and tungsten shield, and I forgot to mention it too. Even with the hardened shield, you do get more stamina on the lower tiered shields. So you do take some damage, but then you also can use the shield more often. So it's risk reward almost, but it is good early game. So finally on the list is the Zephyr boots. Hold and use to sprint. That one, I'm gonna pop it in maybe C tier for now. I might move it. If you get these before you get the Force of Wind, it makes the first boss fight a breeze. It's one of the best items you can get before that first boss fight, but you won't always come across it in every run. So with that out of the way, we've got the, I believe, 10 like ability trinkets out of the way. So let's get down to the actual trinkets now. So I'm just gonna go down so you can read what they do as well. Cool. So the air vessel trinkets adds 2 dash charges. To me, S tier. If you combine those two, that gives you 3 charges, dash all you want. You combine it with the blink scepter, 3 blinks, blink all you want. It is top tier, adds so much mobility to your gameplay that it just makes it worth it. The ammo box reduces bullet usage by 75%. I'm going to say A tier. If you play a ranger class, 75% chance not to use ammo is crazy. I'm pretty sure you can even up it to 100% later on with some enchantments, but I'm not 100% sure. I actually don't remember that well. The next is the Ancient Feather. Increases projectile velocity by 50%. It's, I'm going to say maybe E tier. I haven't found, actually, I'm going to say D tier. I haven't found a use for it. I haven't found a use for the Ancient Feather too much. Playing a range class is great. It makes the bullets travel faster, but it doesn't really do too much in terms of changing how you'd play. Next, we have the Ancient Relics. Reduces the dash cooldown by 25%, adds 2 additional charges. So that one is the air vessel combined with, I believe, another trinket. So I'm gonna pop it above this one and then just pop it in front, because it is the air vessel combined with another relic, another trinket. I just can't remember the exact combination, but it is worth it. The reduced 25% and then the increased dashes makes it so viable, even end game. Probably a trinket that is a must-have throughout the entire game. The Assassin's Cowl trinkets increases the crit chance by 10% and increases the projectile velocity by 50%. So for the Assassin's Cowl, I'm going to pop it into C tier. It is made by combining 2 trinkets. One of those trinkets is already a combined trinket. You require the Lucky Cape and the Ancient Feather. Just continuing on to the next, the Balanced Foci, I'm going to say is A tier. Actually, I'm going to pop it in S tier. I am being very generous with the S tier ones at the moment, but I'm sure that'll change down the track. It's just these ones are all very, very good. I'm going to pop this one probably here because it increases all damage dealt by 20%. A flat damage increase of 20%, no matter what class you're playing, you want that extra 20%. But I'm not going to dwindle on this one too much because the next one is the Balance Frostfire Foci, which, in my opinion, is hands down the best trinket in the game, increasing all damage dealt by 15%. So it's 5% less than the Balance Foci, but you are also getting all your attacks slow the target and deal 35 damage over 5 seconds. So it is a little bit less damage than that by 5%, but it makes up for it with the damage over time, especially if you were playing it safe. And of course, to get this trinket, you would need this one combined with the Frost Flame trinkets, and then you can get that one. But it is an endgame trinket, and in my opinion, everyone must use it because it increases every class no matter what you're using. Next is the Bone Hilt. The Bone Hilt, I'm probably, I haven't tested it too much, but I want to drop it in E tier. It increases armor penetration by 20, but the way the game works is that it doesn't do too much more than if you were to swap that with another DPS trinket. Armor penetration, pretty much certain enemies and bosses will have higher defenses later on in the game, and this pretty much mitigates some of that defense. So instead of having 100 DPS on a harder boss, you'd have 80, and then with the trinket, you might go back up to 100. So it does increase the DPS, but it's only very good on those end game bosses. And if you're at that point already, there's a good chance you're using a different trinket rather than that one. So I haven't found too much of a use, but if you've got nothing else, throw it in a slot, whack an enchantment on it, and there you go. Next is the Calming Miner's Bouquet. Now, this one and all its like predecessor tools, so like the calming rose and those things, they're all, I'd say, top tier for mining. But I don't use them. I don't when I go building or mining, I don't really swap all my trinkets out during a let's play. But if I was just in creative mode, then I definitely have them equipped. So I'm gonna pop this one here in A. The Calming Rose reduces the mob spawn rates, but as you can see, the Calming Miner's Bouquet already includes that one. So on its own, I'd say this one's a C tier. The Construction Hammer increases building speed, S tier. I'm throwing this in S tier only because when you walk and build at the same time, it doesn't build fast enough. So eventually you get out of sync or you're gonna miss a tile. Whereas with this, it keeps up. So if you're planning on building long structures or rows or anything like that, this is definitely the tool. Just pop it in there and you don't have to worry about accidentally walking too fast. Next, we've got the Demon Claw, gives knockback resistance. I'm popping that in E tier. There's not really anything that you have to worry about knockback for, and anything that is doing knockback damage to you, it's probably for the best. If you're going to stand there and tank 2, 3, 4 hits maybe, there's a good chance you're already trying to back up. So if you can get knocked back further while trying to retreat, I'd say that's a good thing, but as far as using it, it's not worth it. So the Digging Claw is 50% tool damage, 50% mining speed, and a -2 mining range. I'm going to pop that here. Actually, I'm going to say D tier maybe. D tier seems like a good spot for this one, only because you are mining faster, so the range isn't too important. The Explorer's Cloak gives land and sea mobility out of combat and extends travel and biome view range by 1. I'm going to say D tier. If you're adventuring early game, worth it. Late game, not worth it. And the way I favor trinkets is if it can help me end game or if it can help me build, then great. If it's just for general mobility, I don't really need it. By end game, you'll have recall and teleport flasks, and you won't need these things. So I'm going to say D tier. The Explorer Satchel increases attack speed by 10%, increases movement speed by 10%, and lights up the area around you. I'm going to say that's A tier. You pop it into a slot if you've got room for it, but the fact that it lights up the area around you means you're not placing as much torches. Your attack speed is 10% and increased movement speed by 10%. A lot of the bosses endgame speed up over time, or the closer they are to dying. So having that extra movement speed is huge, especially during that Ice Queen fight. She is brutal, but the increased attack speed by 10% is good for nearly every class except for a summoner class. So I'm going to pop that in A tier. Fins doubles the swim speed. I'm going to say E tier. Get a boat. Firestone attacks set the target ablaze, dealing 25 damage over 5 seconds. I'm going to drop that C B tier. I actually think these shields might actually need to drop down a tier. I think that's more fitting. B tier for the Firestone. If you get it, you're probably going to equip it because dealing extra damage over time isn't going to hurt anyone except the enemy. So next is the Frenzy Orb. Gain up to 40% damage based on missing health. D tier. Now the reason it's so low is because anything that's set around you being hit or damaged isn't a good trinket. The aim is don't get hit, dish out as much damage as possible. Now obviously if you're speedrunning, trying to get the fastest kills, then yes, the Frenzy Orb, 100% the best trinket in the game because you can drop your HP to 1%. And, well, I don't know the exact math, but by the sounds of things, if you gain up to 40% based on missing health, which means if you're missing 60% of your health, you'll get that extra 40% damage. So if you're at that 40% damage threshold, wicked. If not, it's not useful. So, waste of a trinket slot, I'd never use it, but Not unless I was speed running or trying to get the fastest boss kills in the game. Frost Flame attacks slow target and deals 35 damage over 5 seconds. Pop that in A tier because it's better than the Firestone, but not as good as the balanced Frostfire Foci that includes that already. Same with the Frost Stone. B tier does the same thing, just slows the target and deals 15 damage over 5 seconds. So not really worth it. The Frozen Heart increases max health by 50. I'm going to say it's B tier. Now, the only reason it's B tier is because once you get to the end game, you already have extra health. You've already got food that'll give you extra health. Adding this on isn't going to help you if you're already losing that much health. If you're losing 300 or 350 health already during a fight, chances are adding an extra 50 isn't going to help too much. By then, you'll probably want to just add extra DPS to get you through that fight. Next, we've got the Frozen Soul. Restores 25% health when taking fatal damage. There's a 5-minute cooldown and it increases your maximum health by 50 as well. So better than this one because it's combined with this one, and it is combined later on with the Lifeline. The Lifeline and that one together, but I'll get to Lifeline later. This one here, it's okay. It might save your life in a pinch, but chances are if you're dying, you're just gonna not notice that you're on a potion cooldown or you've already died and it's just gonna kill you again. So not entirely useful, like not top tier useful, but may save your life in a pinch. Next, we've got the Frozen Wave, increases crit damage by 25%. A tier, because any range class, melee class, high DPS class will predominantly focus on critical damage. So Frozen Wave, definitely A tier. Fuzzy Dice increases crit chance by 5%. Now, early game is great. Actually, I take that back. Early game, you're probably not even going to notice those crits anyway. So I'm going to say E tier. The only reason the dice is good is to combine later to get the other items. Hysteria Tablets, S tier. 2 max summons, 30% summon speed. So minions move 30% faster, and you get an extra 2 of them. What's not to like? Summoners love it. Inducing Amulets, I'm going to say A tier. Even on its own, the 30% summon speed, actually B tier. 30% summon speed on its own. Nothing to cry about, and it stops your minions from chasing after bosses, missing attacks, whereas with the 30% extra speed, it can comfortably sit on the boss to attack. Next, we've got the Item Attractor, increases the item pickup range. It's a building one, but I'm going to say maybe B tier. Actually, I'm going to go C. Pop that in C tier. It's good, but chances are you're just going to walk over what you're mining anyway, unless you're dynamite mining. And by then, if you're dynamite mining, you probably don't want all the blocks you're getting anyway. So Leather Glove is next, increases attack speed by 10%. C tier, only because if you've got the Leather Gloves early game, it's not useful until you've combined it with another trinket and you're using an end game weapon to fully utilize the extra damage using the attack speed that you can tank hits comfortably and get the damage off. Lifeline, I'm going to say D tier, restoring 25% health when taking fatal damage. Restores 25% health when taking fatal damage. As I said before with the Frozen Soul, it's not great. If you're going to die, you're going to die again straight away, but it may come in useful for a pinch. The Life Pendant, I just realized I missed over it, gives improved health regen. This might be good combined with the shields, but I've never used it nicely. I found that if I was getting hit enough, then it's not healing me fast enough. It's not worth it. Might be good just to pop on after combat just to heal you back up and save your potions, but chances are you've got a full village or settlement making your potions anyway. All right. Lucky Cape increases crit chance by 10%. C tier. It's decent on its own. It does require combining 2 items to get that, the Lucky Dice and the Noble Horseshoe. But then, that being said, it's not really a game changer until you're combining it with other crit boosting items. So C tier, the Magical Quiver, I don't believe, ignore me, I was about to say I don't believe it stacks with the ammo pouch, but they're 2 different things. One saves arrows, one saves ammo. I'm going to pop it up here with it, saving 75% of your arrow usage is great, but then at the same time, chances are whatever you're making, you can make bulk of anyway, so it's not a huge deal be saving ammo. It's just a good thing to not have to worry about ammo consumption. Next, we have the Magic Foci. Magic Foci and all the other Foci, I'm going to say A tier, only because they're not as good as the combined one. They each only give you, I believe it's 20% damage. which isn't like it is 20%. It's more than that one, which is 15%. But you also do get a damage buff of 20% in every other type of skill. So if you're a summoner, there's no point using a sword or a ranged weapon or anything to kind of help you along. Or if you're a melee with a summon, you'd get the 20% buff. So the 20% nerf, sorry, so it's not worth it. Next, we've got the Mesmer tablet +1 summon, B tier, only because those two combined gives you the Hysteria tablet, which is a must for a summoner. This is also a must for a summoner, so I might actually bump that up to A tier here, only because as a summoner, it is incredibly important to use. Next, we've got the Mining Charm, increases tool damage by 40%. E tier, it's good, but chances are if you're doing a lot of mining, you're probably end game, probably combine the trinkets already. The Cloak can go down here, the Mobility Cloak, gives great mobility out of combat. Chances are most of the time you're in combat unless you're mining or building. And then if you're building, you're probably too quick anyway to place those things. The Ninja's Mark, I'm going to say is S tier. If you've never used it, give it a shot. What it does is when you go to use a weapon, you get slowed substantially. And with the Ninja's Mark, it takes away 50% of that reduction. So that way you can still be nimble. You're not locked into one spot, and it's increasingly important to use this with the new great bows and great swords. Next, the Noble Horseshoe, E tier. Don't need to really go over it. Does the same as the Fuzzy Dice. Next, we've got the Pirate Telescope, which extends travel and biome view range by 1. I'm going to pop that to E. Chances are if you're playing Necesse, you want to explore. Doesn't matter if it's 4 blocks away or 3 blocks away, you're probably going to go there anyway. Polar Claw attacks slow targets. E tier. Not great. Never used it. Probably just combined it into something, but once again, it's probably fitting with the other claw, so nothing too useful. The Regen Pendant gives minor health regen. You never use it. Worse than this one, so only fitting that it goes in E tier. The Scrying Mirror is another one for max summons, so we'll pop that in A tier because as a summoner, there's very little you can do to get better summons, so having as many minions as you can is always a plus. Next, we have the Shine Belt, lights up the area around you. I'm going to say C tier. Oh, I might actually say B tier. It's pretty neutral, but just being able to see around you is nice. It's a nice quality of life feature that you'd take for granted if you didn't have any torches. The Spider Charm, I'm going to pop into D tier. Being hit poisons the attacker for 40 damage over 5 seconds. Whilst it is very good in damage over time, it does require you to get hit to proc. So if you're aiming to be a better player, I'd say don't use it because then you're not relying on it. But if you've got it, definitely use it. So I might actually bump that one up to C tier. Next, we have got the spiked boots and the spiked bat boots. Spiked bat boots are definitely B tier, increases movement speed by 25% and prevents skating around. So if you are in the ice biome defeating any of the ice bosses, probably worth getting a pair of these and sticking them on. The spiked boots does the same thing, but only 15%. So I'm going to C tier. Next, we've got the telescopic ladder, which increases the building range. So that one is good combined with all the other stuff, but later on, you'll just combine it for something else. So by then you won't be using it individually. You'll just combine all of them. So we'll get to that one shortly. The Temple Pendant reduces dash cooldown by 25%. I want to pop that one here. I might actually bump this one down. It's not as important to have reduced cooldown as it is to have increased dashes, but if you get it, it's definitely worth using. Next, you've got the Toolbox S tier. Easily, no questions asked. S tier increases building speed, building range, mining range, and item pickup range. It's probably one of the best non-competitive or like non-damaging trinkets that you can equip. Not only does it boost everything that you do, it just helps in general when building. Once again, the tool extender, that's in the toolbox already, so I'm going to pop that with telescopic ladder. The tracker boots increase movement speed by 10%. I'm going to pop that in D tier. Chances are you'll get something better pretty much right away after you get them anyway. They are easy to make, but you're not going to keep them on for most of the game. The Traveler Cloak increases land and sea mobility out of combat. I'm going to pop that here. Not overly useful, but it does its job if you did want extra mobility. And then lastly, the Vampire's Gift increases movement speed by 15%. I'm going to pop that in D tier because if you're going to be using it, it's going to be combined with the spike boots to make spike bat boots. That is the entire trinkets list. Keep in mind they aren't ordered 100% of like what's better than what in each tier. they're all just kind of ranked in tiers. As an example, these two shields, Cactus Shield isn't better than the Guardian Shield, but I'd say they're fairly equal. Whereas, S is better than A is better than B. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what trinkets may need a buff. Let me know what trinkets you want added into the game. So many ideas are flying around on the Discord channels, even my Discord channel. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you don't agree with. Let me know what your game style is. I want to hear all about it. I want to do some weird things. I want to try defeating some bosses with some weird trinkets. If anyone's got any set play styles that they use, let me know. Anything else? I'll catch you in the next Necesse video. See you then. Bye, guys.